Hey guys, this is Geoff.
And I'm Mr. Onion.
Today we're going over our silver leveled league replay review. You want to talk about where you're currently at in the ladder, Mr. Onion?
Okay, so I've just gotten promoted to Gold League after 11 games. Won 6, lost 5. Uh, I was primarily up against gold level opponents in all of my games. I didn't fight a single silver. And my last couple games were against some platinums, and that's where a lot of my losses came from.
So, what kind of opponent or what build gives you the most amount of trouble?
So most of my losses came from Zergs that were just macroing really hard, but they were in the platinum bracket, so I wouldn't really worry too much about that being a thing in silver or even gold.
So, the game we're looking at now is kind of an example of one of the games that is an auto loss, where there's nothing that you really did wrong, it's just something that the build can't defend against, because you're still using only one build per matchup. And the detection just doesn't come quite fast enough. The cannon's only halfway done when the DTs of your opponent get into your base.
Right.
If you go to the everyone camera, you can see where he hit his Dark Shrine. Even if you were scouting, you wouldn't have been able to see it.
Yeah.
And like a newer player, he's clinging onto the static defense cannons. Like I don't, the cannons aren't really anything, but I just want to mention that, like, newer players love to have cannons in their main. So he was pretty much all in with this DT thing. If it didn't work, it doesn't look like he was planning on expanding at all. But it did work, and in these kind of games, you just kind of have to take the loss and move on. Have you encountered any other cheese that you had to worry about?
Nope, no other cheese.
Okay, let's move on to our next replay. Hey guys, in this replay, we're going to be going over how to defend air attacks. Mr. N, do you want to talk about what's happened in the game so far, from your perspective?
Okay, so fairly standard game, no scouting. I have my 4 or 5 gates up? Yeah, 5 gates up, bays down and researching Thermal Lance. I have my first Colossus coming out. I got a good food count. Everything's pretty much just going to plan, or going according to plan.
Okay, so it's 13:30, and in a few minutes you're probably going to be pushing out at 16, or that would be the plan.
Right.
So, do you want to go into your perspective, and then we'll count down?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So this is right before the mutas are going to come in and bug you.
Yep.
So
Saw them
what's-
right away.
So you see them right away. Your decision making is to do a warp in right away,
Yes.
which is pretty decent.
Yeah, in my mind, warp-ins are like the fastest response that I can do, because it's easier than splitting an army. But, that might not be correct.
Okay, you lost a lot of workers. You basically
Yeah.
lost half of your workers.
A lot of workers. I did put cannons down fairly soon.
Yeah.
I moved my army to my natural because usually when I experience muta harass, they come to the natural the second they see any sort of like movement. Like I'll do a warp in, they'll move to the natural. So my mindset through this was, if I do a warp in, he'll be scared. My army will wait at his natural, and I'll kill all of them when they get there. But that
So
didn't happen.
Let's pause here.
All right,
So you thought that doing a one warp in would scare him away, and then you'd kill them all.
right? Because he
The
would
right-
run to my natural.
The right decision, in my eyes, would be to split your army, send half of it to the back, and leave the other half at your front,
Right.
and do a warp in wherever the mutas are, like you did, and then do 2 cannons, like you did. You put 2 cannons on your line.
Yeah.
The cannons could be more spread out, just so they cover more area.
Yeah. For sure.
But-
I kind of clumped them together in the heat of the moment.
That's less of an issue. And then, if your army was far away, you could just run your probes to your natural.
Okay.
If you didn't want to split your army, but you needed to at least move your army. That was the most important, and then do a warp in,
Right.
and then some cannons. That should be the order. So you lost a lot of probes. The unit count, he has 41 drones now, and you have 33.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to resume the game and see how this plays out?
Sure. You want to 8x this?
Sure.
All right.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Research complete.
If you wanted to, you could probably spend chrono. Yeah, you are. You're chronoing your Nexus. That's really good.
Yeah, I tried to repopulate. The mutas came back, but the cannons scared them away pretty well.
Yeah, and because you have the 2 cannons, if once you finally push out with your army, you could just do 1 warp-in worth of stalkers, and along with the cannons, you'd be safe from any air harass.
Right. and I proceeded to push into him, and I think he got most of my Colossus in that, but I smashed his army pretty hard and then walked into his base and won pretty much.
In this replay, we're going to be talking about a Terran who's he's playing pretty greedy up until this point. He has 3 bases, and he's moving in with this drop right now. He does a drop, and then he falls back to a Planetary Fortress after his drop. So first thing, I feel like you could have done better is to move this robotic space to the other side. Kind of like always assume they're going to drop, and instead of building cannons, just move your buildings to a safer area.
Right.
What was your decision making in this game when you saw the drop?
So pretty much I was just scrambling to try and defend this. The drop was really big compared to other drops that I've seen, so I just kind of brought my army over and tried to put cannons up as quick as possible. So that kind of worked, so that didn't, but I still ended up losing a ton in this. I felt really bad about it, kind of in general.
Let's pause right here. So you lost a lot of workers. You lost 23 workers, according to my thing.
Yep, 23 workers lost.
Okay. I feel like, okay, so as far as building layout, move your tech buildings onto the inside wall on the right side of your base.
Right.
You can build a couple pylons on the edge on the left side, just 1 or 2, so then you can see the drop coming in earlier.
Right.
Somebody in a higher league who does this drop, you're going to want to leave a couple sentries at your front to force field, because they know you're going to pull the army to the back, and then they'll just bring units into the front and kill your other probes.
Oh, I see.
So leaving a couple sentries in the front would be smart. Even if you don't have the micro now, it'd be good to practice that for later.
Right.
And you would have saved a lot of probes by running them away. When you see a lot of units, you want to run them away. When you only see a couple, it might be better to leave your probes mining. But because this whole army is there, you could have saved almost all your probes.
Alright. Were the cannons a good decision, or were they just too many units to start summoning those right there?
The cannons wouldn't come in time. Cannons are okay against air units because you can kind of assume that they're going to come back with air again.
Right.
With a drop, it might be too little too late. You didn't scout that he was going to drop you, so the cannons were too late at that point. You might as well not make them.
Okay.
And you could just rely on a warping from that point on. Okay, this is further up in the same game. This is where you kind of saved up a big army and pushed off. When did you decide it was the right time to leave your base?
It was around 3 Colossus. I think I might have been at 170 food. So trying to max out, trying to just have some tech in my army. Just kind of when I felt comfortable.
I think the best decision would have been right when you got 3 and just pushing up right away. I think waiting until you max out is kind of giving him a chance to get back into or to kind of win the game.
Right. I was just kind of banking on the fact that he wouldn't be able to handle a 200 army more so, but yeah.
You want to pause here?
Alright.
So up until this point, you lost 23 probes. You're back up to 49. He's at 51. He's on 4 bases now. You're on 2 bases, and you're ahead in food by a lot because you just won that last engagement.
Right.
So you're at the Planetary Fortress, and he repairs it a lot.
Yes, he does.
And you decide to attack it,
Yeah.
and things go really bad for you.
They sure do.
You could have force fielded it, and that would stop the SCVs from repairing it, and then you could have taken it. Or you could just avoid it, which would have been the best decision. Just go above and around into his main and won.
Yeah, this was my first time dealing with the Planetary Fortress, so I really was very confused as to what I should do. If it was focus SCVs or focus the actual fortress. But
yeah,
pretty much
Fortresses
just,
are
if I don't have force fields, just ignore it.
If you can ignore it, because the Terran wants you to attack into a Planetary Fortress, especially if you can repair it.
Right.
So best case scenario for him, you attack into it and lose your whole army and win and lose.
Right.
So let's play this out and see how it goes.
Alright.
So you kind of threw away the game after that.
Yep, for sure. Lost everything. And then GG'd.
But even though he was on 4 base, it was still pretty close up until then.
Right. Well, he was floating a lot of minerals. Alright guys, thanks for watching and good luck, have fun.